Holden Special Vehicles is about to undergo the biggest transformation in its 30-year history. What it'll build in the future is still unknown, but it's going to have to be pretty special to match the homegrown V8 monsters that have been its speciality since 1987. To celebrate 3 decades of building some of Australia's finest muscle cars, we count down Motor's 5 favourite HSVs. The VT2 GTS represented a quantum leap in Australian muscle car performance. Fitted with the US-sourced Callaway C4B 5.7-litre V8, it broke through the 300 kilowatt barrier for the first time. Its power figure not bettered until the 307 kilowatt E-Series GTS of 2006. In the process, HSV created a genuine rival to European super sedans like the BMW M5 and Mercedes-Benz E55 AMG for half the price. How do we know? We took a GTS to the Nürburgring in the year 2000 to battle those very 2 cars, and it was the Aussie that came out on top. Just 100 were built, all as 6-speed manuals, though the engine would later reappear in various other HSVs, including the GTS Coupe, VX Senator 300 and VY GTS. But for our money, the original is the best, both for its cleaner styling and game-changing performance. On the face of it, the W427 was a complete flop. Originally, 427 were scheduled for production until the 2008 global financial crisis killed the market for a 150 grand Australian muscle car. In the end, just 137 were built, but while the business case might not have worked out too well, the car itself was brilliant. Key to its appeal was the 7-litre LS7 V8 lifted from the Chevrolet Corvette Z06, producing a monstrous 375 kilowatts and 640 newton metres. Both the outputs and the resulting 4.7 second 0 to 100 sprint were Aussie car benchmarks at the time and would remain so for years. Thanks to the still fresh E-Series platform, it could use the grunt too, with massive AP racing brakes and clever adaptive dampers keeping its substantial weight in check. The looks were also much more restrained than some of HSV's previous efforts, so is it any wonder that among fans who've owned all Clayton's greatest hits, the W427 often ranks as their favourite. In 1995, the VS GTSR was as close as you could get to driving a V8 supercar on the road. Just 85 were built, with 10 going to New Zealand, and they wore a huge price tag of $76,000, almost 30 grand more than a regular club sport. In return, there was an extra 30 kilowatts and 75 newton metres, thanks to a stroked 5.7 litre version of Holden's V8, liberal use of carbon fibre inside and out, and a rear wing for Mark Scaife's weekend wheels. For another $10,000 or so, the Holden racing team would blueprint the engine for around 10 more kilowatts, and each customer had the option of a VIP experience, including business class flights to Melbourne and a tour of HSV's facilities. Unfortunately, the GTSR's credibility was somewhat undermined by Victorian Premier Jeff Kennett's decision to paint the state's entire taxi fleet the same shade of yellow. Nonetheless, it's a rare and important car in HSV's history. The HSV story began with the VL Group A SS Walkinshaw, built to homologate the latest Commodore for Group A touring car racing. It received the latest version of Holden's 5-litre V8 and that crazy aero kit, which rumour has it developed too much downforce, slowing the car down on Bathurst's Conrod Straight. It also didn't help sales. The initial production run of 500 sold well, but a further 250 cars struggled to find buyers, dealers removing the body kit and even painting the cars different colours in an attempt to shift them. It led some cruel observers to apply nicknames like the Plastic Pig. Of course, today, those wild wings are key to the Walkinshaw's collectability. In 2017, 180 kilowatts and 380 newton metres are ho-hum numbers for a hot hatch, let alone a muscle car. But the Walki weighs only 1,340 kilograms, so feels more agile to drive than you might expect. It's the genesis of HSV, setting the blueprint that continues to this day. But while it might be the original HSV, it's not our number one. In our eyes, HSV saved the best for last. The GTSR W1 isn't just the fastest and most powerful Commodore ever produced, it's also the most ambitious engineering project the company has ever undertaken. Finding the 300 or so LS9 engines required to give the W1 an unprecedented 474 kilowatt punch was hard enough. but it was a walk in the park compared to actually making the engine work in the Commodore package. Bespoke parts were required to accommodate the LS9's dry sump oil system, adapt the engine to HSV's electric power steering, and install the close ratio 6-speed manual gearbox. Brand new suspension from race car suppliers Supershock replaces the standard GTS's magnetic ride control. Bigger brakes, wider wheels, sticky Pirelli Trofeo R tyres, plastic front guards, and carbon fibre for the rear wing, front guard vents and engine air intake. It all adds up to a car that's more than 4 seconds a lap faster than the standard GTS around Winton Raceway. And unlike the W427, the W1's entire build run was spoken for prior to production, as enthusiasts clamour to secure an example of the ultimate Australian muscle car. The W1 is the culmination of 30 years worth of performance car expertise, which is why it's HSV's greatest achievement.